All right. Justin is about to be in with us. We are going live at lunch like we try to do every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes we can't make it happen on Thursdays. I've been at Auburn a lot, but pretty much won't be at Auburn again until we get to the fall camp. So we're cranking it up today. We're going to get back to the questions we had in the corner because we had a lot. I brought that back up, and we will take some of those questions. Want you to drop some questions in the comments too that we'll hit, and we'll just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about during your lunch hour. I know y'all are we have a thread on the board right now talking about your favorite seafood. So, like, if you're not on the board, you're missing out on some great conversations because I love seafood, and I was all over that thread. I picked oysters, by the way, Justin. Raw oysters. That was my
seafood
number one for seafood. Yeah.
Well, this might be unpopular, but I'm not a huge seafood person.
I don't believe it.
I don't know. It's like I'm not opposed to it. It's not my thing.
Shrimp. You like shrimp?
Yeah. Like I'll eat it. Like I like shrimp, but I'm just not. If you gave me a choice, if you were like, we can go wherever to eat. Seafood wouldn't even be on my radar. Like when I go to the Depot in Auburn, which is a good seafood place, I don't ever get seafood there. I don't know. Well, I'm starving. Just excuse the fact that I'm eating a bagel because I'm just I need some energy.
We're not going to excuse that. Let's make it awkward. Let's just sit here quietly while you eat it, and then we'll get going.
Well, it's good.
No, serious question. This is a big topic on the board. You believe in Bigfoot?
Oh God!
It's yes or no question. Don't hesitate.
I hope everybody that joined is like, "Hey, what's the show about?" And they join and they're like, "Hey, we're talking about Bigfoot." I have no idea. I've never given it probably more than five seconds of thought. I'll say no. Like of all the things in life to like concern yourself with, like if there's a Bigfoot, would it change my life? No, not at all. So it's like, sure. I don't know.
Dang it.
Cole froze on the most, like he was just elated. What game are you watching back there? What's that one?
This is, it looks like a commercial right now.
Is it an Auburn game?
No, it's on
South Carolina.
I have it on SEC Network, and we have officially hit the time of year, which this is kind of an outdated thing, just like you were talking about with Lindy's. I don't know if Lindy's and all that is outdated, though. I still think people like it. There are people out there that don't subscribe to Auburn Live and do the whole internet message board article thing, and they still wait on that magazine every year. Well, when I was coming up, Justin, the only way you got to watch games again was on, I believe it was called CSS at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they still do that. I mean, you can pull up any game you want on YouTube now, but SEC Network, there's like a halfway point in the summer where they go, we're just going to show old games all day.
Yeah.
And that fires me up.
They should. SEC football fans, literally, there should just, SEC Network, they should do more of that. There's times where you flip over and they're showing like inside, like the other day they had a 30-minute show on Auburn spring game, and it was like inside the spring game. I mean, that's fine. But there's times they show stuff, and I'm like, dude, just show replays. You could crush it in the ratings if you would have a station that did nothing but, that's what ESPN Classic was or tried to be for a while. Just show nothing but SEC football games, classic football games of the last 20 years, and like you'd be glued to it May, June, July.
Well, that's what SportsCenter was. And then now they're just like all these talk shows. You used to actually watch highlights on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like you'd wake up in the morning and they'd be doing the top 10 over and over. I could watch the top 10 100 times. It never got old.
Yeah. Now it's opinions and because honestly, I don't know, everything's changed. You can see highlights on Twitter. You can see highlights. There's people put highlights on X within 3 minutes of a play happening in a game. I could be on my timeline on X and something could happen, like in that baseball game last night, Arkansas LSU. Within a minute of a big play happening, I'm watching the home run on X. I mean, I don't need highlights anymore. It's all there. So you might as well. I get it why ESPN's sort of doing all this.
Well,
but yeah, CSS was religious, man. Sunday nights, every team had a replay set. Auburn was Sunday nights at like 7-ish, would be the replay. Of course, that's where you hear a lot of Cole Kublik. But yeah, that was fun. It was the only time you could watch the replay. I mean, they didn't have, you didn't have YouTube TV where you could record it and watch it. That was prior to probably TiVo and all that.
TiVo,
right?
DVR, yeah.
DVR, and
no, we were doing some cleaning out at my granddad's house a couple years ago, and he was an Alabama fan. He had every Alabama game just on a VHS tape. I really wanted to find a VCR because, and I don't know where you could even find that now, just to see the commercials, to see the production of those games. That would be so cool.
I had some of those growing up. I had, this is probably, late 90s. There was somebody, I can't remember who. It'd be crazy if somebody remembered, but there was somebody that I found. I don't know how I found it, but they would record games. They'd record games. And I remember reaching out and I was like, hey, do you have, and I named like 10 games. I was like, do you have this game or this game? And like, I remember paying him and he would record them. And he sent me I had like 10 VHS of like classic Auburn games from 88, 89 to like mid 90s. I had some like Florida or LSU 94, or Florida 93, 94. I had them on VHS where he sent them to me. I don't know where they are now, like in Tennessee and I don't know what some of those games were, but yeah.
That kind of stuff just fires me up, man. I just run through a wall right now. I could, but we need to do the show. I don't need to do that. I like reminiscing, Justin. I like reminiscing on this stuff. You got me all fired up with Lindy's and Athlon Sports the other day because I can just picture myself at the beach going to Walmart to make our little grocery run and me begging my mom, like, I got to have this. You don't understand.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, it's just a magazine. You don't understand. I've been waiting all year for this. So yeah. I get it. Do you have anything particular you want to talk about today? Because we do have a lot of questions that we didn't get to on the last one because, my internet power, you name it. But do you want to jump right into those? Do you have any topics you wanted to hit today?
We can get into questions. I would we'll plug your two. Go to auburnlive.com and you can read two pieces from Cole talking about some buzz around players that I think is interesting. We can get into that a little bit. We can pick a player or two, talk about that. Yes. I wrote about Jackson Arnold yesterday, sort of building off what we talked about on Tuesday. About what would realistic expectations be for his stat line, and if he hit a certain stat line, what that might be for Auburn, what that might mean for Auburn in terms of wins and losses. So I would go read that. I kind of dug into a little bit of Freeze's past. It's kind of interesting, by the way, looking at that. I went back and looked at Freeze's 3 10-win seasons and said, well, what did the quarterbacks do in his most successful seasons? You would think, well, he has 3 10-win seasons. You would think those seasons his quarterbacks probably were just off the charts or like phenomenal, right? They were good, but the numbers would surprise you. Malik Willis was really good. His rushing numbers really aided him. He had 600 plus, or he might be more than that. I can't remember. His rushing numbers.
I think it was in the 800s, maybe.
Yeah, but he only threw for 2,200 yards.
Yeah,
and he was like 21-9. Ryan Applin at Arkansas State, they won 10 games. He was 19-13. Chad Kelly is probably his best quarterback the year at his 10-win team at Ole Miss. Chad Kelly was 31 touchdowns, 13 picks. He might have hit 4. I can't remember what I wrote. 35 to 4,000 yards. But every 10-win season, the average was about 3,200 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, about 12 picks. And then the variable there, the consistent variable, was all three quarterbacks went over 500 yards rushing. And all three quarterbacks were close to 10 rushing touchdowns. And I thought that was interesting because we were talking about what could Arnold do passing. And we talked about, I said, listen, 3,200 and 28-9 or 28-11 or 28 and even 12, Freeze teams have won with the quarterbacks are just going to throw picks. Like we talked about that last year. You go back in his history, and there's just not a year where the quarterback throws 3 picks. It just never happens. But I thought the rushing numbers were interesting. And you could toss in, I could go look at Bo Wallace. He had some rushing numbers. I don't know what Peyton finished last year, but it was interesting. His 3 10-win teams, all the quarterbacks were 500+ yards rushing and about 10 rushing touchdowns or more. And that's something we haven't talked about with Jackson Arnold at all, is what in the world are the expectations for him running the football? You've got talented receiver, running back by committee, pretty good O-line. What's the expectation there? Is there a number that he might hit, should hit? Do they feel like they've got enough talent around him where there's not an expectation for him running the football? But like, what do you see from him running? He's mobile. We know he's mobile and athletic, and he's kind of a sturdy built guy. He can probably take some hits, but what in the world are the expectations for him running the football, if there are any?
No, this is a great topic, because I'm glad thank you, by the way, for plugging those 2 articles, 2 intel pieces, guys. If you're not a part of Auburn Live on 3, you can get in there for $1 for a week, get you a trial, rolls into an annual. Go check those out. Those are members only insider articles. So, we're not going to go too deep into them, but I do want to hit on, that is something that when I talk to insiders, Justin, I get the sense, and I wrote this in there, that Jackson, okay, I'm just going to ask you this straight up. On a scale of 1 to 10, how expendable is Jackson Arnold? What I mean by that is, how much are they willing to run Jackson Arnold? Whereas I can think back to there being times when Auburn had Bo Nix and they didn't want to run him, overly run him and risk him getting injured, because what was behind him, right?
Yeah.
Not good. Okay. Is this quarterback situation lend towards Jackson Arnold being extremely expendable? Are we thinking like 9 out of 10 on a out of 10 scale here? Or he's not expendable, he can't get hurt? 2. We got to hold back on that running. In your opinion, how expendable is he?
I mean, you can't lose him. I mean, if he gets hurt, we still don't know exactly what you have in Ashton Daniels, but let's just assume Ashton Daniels is adequate, but is more similar to what Peyton was, where, I think he can manage some situations, but I'm not sure if he can be a difference maker, like a big time difference maker. You can't lose him. You can't lose him and plug in Ashton and reach, I don't think, 8 or 9 wins. I don't think Ashton Daniels is that type of quarterback.
Okay, I guess what I'm also asking is, between Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight, how big is the gap from those 2 to Jackson Arnold? I mean, are we thinking Jackson Arnold is 100 times better than those guys?
No one's 100 times better.
I don't know what the measurement scale needs to be when you're trying to figure this out, but how much better is he?
Well, the ceiling for Jackson Arnold is a lot higher, that's for sure. If Jackson Arnold, if this thing works, and if he regains his confidence, and if the system fits, and if him and Freeze get on a little bit of a roll and have a pretty good camaraderie about what's comfortable for both and all that, then I think the gap is really big. Now, if you just looked at last year, if you just watched Jackson Arnold last year and said, what's the difference between him and Ashton Daniels? Well, might be smaller. Yeah, because Jackson Arnold had his struggles last year. But if you're banking on better fit, his skill set being put to good use with Hugh Freeze, talented receivers of what Arnold could be, then I think the gap's pretty large. If Ashton Daniels was the starter, what would be your expectation? Do you think would you be in the 6 and 7 range, or do you think he's better than that? Or is it hard to tell because he wasn't here for spring?
Well, the unfortunate thing that we have to do is we have to compare him to what's been there, which is what we always run back into. And I think you've got a guy that runs the ball a lot better than what you had. Can he be as efficient? I mean, I would argue that the Auburn coaching staff knows the most about Ashton Daniels as opposed to the other guys.
Yeah.
You've seen 2 full seasons of him as the starter on the Power 4 level. It's not the SEC, but it's it's not Incarnate Word either. It's Stanford.
Yeah.
Two full years as a starter where he was in 23, he was 58%, almost 59% completion. Then you go to 2024, he bumps that up closer to 63%, 62.7. So that's about where he's going to hit. That probably doesn't change a whole lot, his completion percentage. All right. Now, he went from 8 interceptions in 2023 to 12 interceptions in 2024. It's a lot of interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start getting concerned. And his passing numbers went down significantly in 2024. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of what happened with Stanford. I know they had a receiver that was dang good. Alec Ayomanor, I think is how you say his name. Went pro, I'm pretty sure. So it's interesting. His rushing yards went up significantly in 2024, and his carries had 148 rushes for 669 yards, 3 touchdowns. So I think that you're getting a better runner, and it goes back to your question: does a better runner? Oh, Zach, my fault, man. I didn't mean it when I said Incarnate Word. I didn't mean it. Incarnate Word didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve that. You're right. My fault. But you're getting better. It goes back to your question: how much does running matter? So you're
What's the
adding.
expectation? It's more like what's the expectation for Jackson Arnold as a runner? Because all we've done is talk about him as a passer. Or is it completely unknown? Do we have no idea exactly what they want from Jackson Arnold as a runner? And it might depend on how the things start to develop. Maybe you go through the game and you watch sort of how the offense flows, and you go, you know what, Jackson Arnold, he's got something there, and like he's going to be a big part. Or Damari and Jeremiah Cobb and Darrell Robinson are doing really well. They're doing just fine. We don't need Arnold to rush the ball that much.
I probably didn't go into it as much as this, like we are now, but the thought that I've gotten, and I've talked to some good sources inside the program while sitting up there for countless hours waiting on recruits. The tone, I guess you would say, that I get is they know he's got to use his legs. Jackson Arnold. They know they're going to get the best version of him if they're using his legs. That's how Oklahoma beat Alabama. He had 148 rushing yards in that game. They know that Auburn's best chance of winning is probably going to be to put it in his hands as a runner more than what they've been doing. I think that there's a thought they can almost treat him as they did Robbie Ashford, whereas this is not a Service Academy offense. He can run the offense, but there's got to be some design runs in there. There's got to be some times when they put the ball in his hands and ask him to go pick up a first down on 3rd and short or things of that nature. So I do think he's pretty expendable. I don't think they're just going to be crazy about it, but they're going to use his legs. I don't think this is going to work if they don't.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. I was trying to go back and look at some rushing numbers from rushing attempts for Ryan Applin, Chad Kelly, Malik Willis, players like that. But it's hard because you're talking about sacks in there too, potentially, or scrambles. So it's hard to know exactly how many design runs, how many times did they run zone read and expect him to run. I'm not sure. I just thought it was interesting that all 3 of those seasons, Free's three best seasons, your quarterback went for 500 plus rushing yards. I mean, that's a big number. It's a pretty good number when your quarterback's going over 500 yards rushing. That's more than he's athletic and he scrambles. That's design. That's quarterback draws. That's pulling and running with design. There's a lot of intent there. I mean, Ryan Applin that 2011 had 160 carries. Kelly was like 107 carries, and Malik Willis was like 140 carries. So I think it's just maybe an interesting part of the offense that we'll have to wait and see develop, and it could just depend game to game. It could be, there could be a team that's not respecting him pulling the ball. There's something there, and so we run him a little bit. And then there's other games where maybe they're doing something, or it's a setup where it's not conducive to run him, and there's not much there, and we need to run the ball different ways. And so it could be a game to game thing to some degree. But
do you want to guess how many rushing yards Thorne had a year ago or in 24?
Well, I just looked.
Okay, so
Yeah.
The crazy thing about it is he had 515 in 2023. That was
what are his sack numbers,
Ashford.
though? What are his sack numbers year to year?
Sacks. I don't know if
because he certainly was sacked. I mean, he was top 5 in the league last year in sacks or something, 6. I mean, he was sacked certainly sacked a good bit.
Yeah, I don't have that on this, what I'm looking at, but went from 515 to 283, but also he had 134 carries in 23, 112 in 24. You have to also think in 23, he's sharing time with Robbie Ashford. Robbie Ashford was like their runner at quarterback. They put him in a run, and he still got almost 600 or 500 yards. I would argue that Auburn was better on offense in 24, possibly more effective when it counted in 2023. Does that make sense?
Say that again?
Auburn's offense as a whole was probably better in 2024, but when it counted, I think it was probably more like, your big downs, more effective in 2023. Just going off of memory. I'm not going off of numbers here. And they were more intent on running the quarterbacks in that offense. So I do think they're going to have flashes and elements of that style joining back in with what you saw this past year, because they know they're in a situation where they've got to win. And if that was the more efficient way, they're going to go back to that. And I think they're not scared to run Jackson Arnold. I think they'll put it in his hands. I think they'll risk him getting hit. Again, this is the tone that I get when I talk to them about the quarterback position as a whole, because I don't think that they are absolutely in panic mode if an Ashton Daniels or a Deuce Knight has to come in. I mean, you got to think they were willing to put in Hank Brown for the Arkansas game. Maybe they were panicking on the inside, but they were willing to do it.
I would say they were panicking. That was a panic. That was a panic move. That was a panic. That was an absolute panic move. That early in the year, that was handled poorly. You panicked and you threw Hank Brown in. Honestly, you lost that Arkansas game because you did that. Arkansas was not anything special. And if you really looked at the Cal game and you said, well, that interception wasn't on Peyton, that was a drop ball. That one, Keyshawn Lambert ran the wrong route. That one, there was some where I think if you really evaluated it, you could have. I thought that was a total panic move from Free, feeling the pressure. Some people probably in his ear to like do something different, make a change, and I think he panicked and tried to give Hank Brown a shot, and it cost him that game, in my opinion.
Well, to me, the more panicky part was when he goes with the change. Okay, fine. I could understand it at the time. I thought it got real panicky when he gave Hank Brown one half, had 3 interceptions, not good. Auburn was in the football game, though, and he had made some really good throws in that game, Hank Brown. I just went back and watched it. So then it got real panicky when he goes, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
They put Peyton back in.
I really don't think they'll be in that situation again exactly like that. I think if they do have to make a change or if there's an injury, I don't think they'll be like just overflowing with confidence, but they're going to have a little bit better feeling about whoever they have to put in, whether it's Deuce or Daniels. Is there a world, by the way, where Deuce Knight beats out Ashton Daniels for that backup quarterback spot? I think this is the battle to watch in fall camp. This is the number one battle I care about. I want to see who wins that backup job.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be interesting. Just because, if Jackson Arnold gets hurt. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that's. I don't know. I think it could depend also. Like, let's just say there was a number two quarterback and a number three between those two. You know, at Oklahoma, what is that? Game 4? Is that right? Or is it at A&M? Which one's first?
Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma's first.
So let's say, yeah, you're right, at Oklahoma. So at Oklahoma or at A&M, one of those two games. Let's say fall camp Deuce is great, and you go, man, I think Deuce, let's make him the number 2. He's got a great arm, he's talented, whatever. Ashton came in late, a couple things maybe Ashton doesn't quite have the grasp of yet. Maybe Deuce is really grasping some of the things we're doing, whatever. But then you go on the road and it's at Oklahoma, and Jackson Arnold gets hurt. You putting Deuce in, or you putting Ashton Daniels in? Like, it could depend. You might go, you know what? I think Deuce is my number 2, but first SEC game on the road, fourth game of the year. Who's better equipped maybe to handle that situation? Maybe it's Ashton. Like, there could be some of that goes into play where maybe Deuce is the better quarterback, maybe, but it could be a situation early in the year where you go, oh, I don't know about throwing. I think Ashton might handle this road situation a tad bit better. I don't know, but
so
maybe not.
The better question is, will it be locked down by the time fall camp is over? Will there be a solid choice for the number 2 quarterback, or will it be a week by week basis? Like, this week it might be Ashton. This week we might try Deuce if that's the case.
Yeah,
I think both. I think both quarterbacks will be. Whereas, when you get into the game weeks, reps are limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they've got to find a way to get equal amount of reps to Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight? Like, they can't play around. They've got to find a way, but they also have to get Arnold his reps too. How do you go about this? It's a good problem to have, I think. This is not a bad problem we're talking about. This is a good problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to want to get Deuce ready, man. I'm telling you, the excitement around that guy, it's what I hear about the most. It's just what I hear about the most. If I sit there for a day in the complex, 4 or 5 hours waiting on recruits, whatever we're doing there, and I talk to somebody that's inside the building, whether it be a staffer, a player, just somebody who's around the program all the time,
mm-hmm.
His name's coming up, and it's usually organic. I don't have to ask.
Yeah,
it's. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm not saying anything other than this is what I'm hearing the most.
You just don't know. The talent's there. I think we all see that. I think we all believe the work ethic's there because we've heard about him getting into the film room and wanting to learn. And so I think the work ethic's there. I think the talent's there. The arm talent is there.
Yeah.
But you just, until you get in the fire, until you're thrown out there, how do you read things? How calm and poised are you? Do you make the right checks at the right time? That's just stuff that either you get or you start to pick up. It's just hard to know some of that until you get thrown into the fire.
Sure.
And maybe we'll see. Look, you got Baylor, and then you got 2 games. Maybe there's a situation where you get Deuce reps against, what do they got? South Alabama. Who are those 2 home games? Ball State and South Alabama. I mean, maybe you find a way. It could be, but it's also a situation where you certainly need Jackson Arnold in that offense, need all the reps they can get. But I would say getting reps for Deuce Knight in those games would be really high on my list of priority things to do.
It's in the back of their mind.
Yeah.
Zach, if you want to throw up a few of questions from our live chat over here, and then we'll get into some of the questions that we got in the corner too. So GHYT, Hokanson Cole, will 3 running backs go over 400 yards this season? No. I do think 2 running backs and a quarterback could.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I don't know what to think of Darrell Robinson. I don't. He wasn't there. I don't know I have no idea what his role will be or what his production will. And Auburn coaches probably don't either. I mean, you got Damari and Jeremiah Cobb coming back. Arnold's going to run some. I don't completely think they know exactly what his role in production will look like.
They are excited about him. I will say that. I've heard a lot about that, which I wrote in one of those insiders, but don't know what he's about to be. That's for sure. Don't know.
Yeah, I would say no on that. I mean, because I don't know enough about Darrell Robinson to say, is he going to get over 400? I don't think I could. You kind of hope not. I mean, you kind of hope Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb carry the load. I mean, I kind of hope that there's not a situation where Darrell Robinson, I guess not Alvin Henderson, but I mean, so I guess I don't really want a third running back getting 400. I mean, Arnold's going to get yards rushing. You know, guys like Malcolm Simmons or Eric Singleton are going to get some stuff like speed sweeps and reverses that they'll be involved a little bit in some of that stuff. So I hope there's not a third running back getting 400 yards. Honestly, I'd rather it be 800-ish for Damari, 600-ish for Jeremiah, 450 to 500 for Arnold, something like that.
Yeah. Well, since we've already done the recruiting show this week, I'll answer this one real quick, Justin. Kenneth Jolly wants to know, which running back is Auburn putting all chips in after the addition of Eric Perry? Any news on Landon Duckworth? Running back, I've always thought it would be Jay Lamar. I actually think that there was a big push made for Xavier Crowell while he was on campus for his official visit. I don't think that landed. I think Xavier Crowell is going to go commit to Bama pretty soon. He has a date. I expect him to commit to Bama. I'd say Jay Lamar is probably the one that they would push all the chips in, so to speak. They are. I mean, nothing changes when you get Perry. I think you still have the same running back board and whatever NIL resources to put towards running back. So that part's going to be interesting. I think they definitely want one more. Landon Duckworth, currently competing at the Elite 11. I think there was a report surfaced that he is going to take one more visit to South Carolina, which does not make you feel good if you're Auburn because that one's tight. What I've heard is that South Carolina will do what it takes to get him in his class. What I'm wondering is, will Auburn do the same? Like, at what point does your quarterback room get so expensive that you can't do that, right? I mean, it's probably pretty expensive right now. So maybe that's not an issue. I don't know the answer to that quite yet. It's about the best update I can give you on that situation right now. Hayden Harris. If you could add any player from the past 5 seasons to this current roster, who would it be and why?
From the past 5? All the losing seasons?
5 years, yeah. So back
to 20? To 2019. Well, my first thought was Tank. If you added Tank along with Singleton, Cam Coleman, Jackson Arnold, what you have at receiver, you have a pretty good line. You have a tackle that's an NFL prospect. Jackson Arnold's got the potential. If you added Tank Bigsby,
I like Zach's answer, Justin.
What do you say? What do you say?
Bo Nix. He said, "Now that might be a little controversial."
Oh well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. Bo Nix. Yeah. No, that's fine. Bo was fine. Bo was a weird fit for Harson's offense, and look what Bo turned into. Sure.
He'd be a great fit for Hugh Freeze's offense.
Oh yeah,
that's a great answer. Is there another position where you're going? They definitely need. If we're going back to 2019,
that's too far back.
All right, let's cut it off at 20 then. Oh man, what about like a 2020? How about Zacoby McClain? How much would that change? Would that change anything?
I don't think so.
We're not even thinking defense.
No, you definitely could go defense. Yeah, Zacoby would be a good one. I mean, that dude had 113 tackles in 2020. He had 96 in 2021. So yeah, I mean he'd be a baller. Derek Hall, but you've got some talent. I mean, Keldrick Falk's pretty talented. What about Yeah, McLean would be a good one. Defensively, it's like outside of Derek Hall. I mean, you've got pretty good corners, so you could say Roger McCreary, but you feel like you've got decent corners. I mean, I would go a direction where you have a big hole.
Derek Hall and Marcus Harris are his other choices behind Bo Nix.
Yeah,
Marcus Harris is better. He's better than you think he was. He's good.
Marcus Harris would be a good one. I don't know. I lean Bo Nix fine. I was sort of thinking, that'd be fine. But I'd love to see Tank. I'd love to see Tank with the receivers you have, and if we think Jackson Arnold can be what he can be, toss Tank in there. How about that offense? I mean, you had an offense of Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton Jr. out there, and then you had Tank in the backfield. It's a lot of talent.
What about Anders Carlson?
Yeah. It's fine. I don't know that would. I mean, they need a consistent kicker. Sure, there's some games that they lost last year, but I don't know.
I think Bo Nix is the top answer I've heard. Just because I'm tired of questioning Arnold. Like, he could be great. He might be mediocre. I don't. We can speculate as much as we want. I know what Bo Nix is. That's the whole thing with going to get a guy like Jackson Arnold in this portal cycle is you still don't know what he is. It's tough. It's a gamble. It just is.
Yeah.
I'm in the if I got to choose, I would say give me something that's not a gamble at quarterback. Bo Nix. That's a great answer. Don't have to worry about that too much. But those are all good answers. Seth Koss, do you think by the end of the year, DeAndre Carter is in the starting lineup?
No,
I don't either.
Only because I think you've got a lot of experience on the line. I mean, Carter. It's not necessarily a slight on Carter, but that's your line. Chaplin, Murphy, Wade, Lou. That's a lot. That's a lot of guys who played a lot of football. There's no inexperience on that line. That's a lot of college snaps. So,
yeah, and then you have the swing guys, the guys that can maybe not start but come off the bench or be part of the rotation. Could be Isaiah Miller, who's that guy. Could be Wade if they do some shuffling and put Murphy at guard or whatever the case. They got the options. I don't think Carter is like 2 years ago. Yeah, sure. If he was not a starter, I think he's the next guy off the bench. But right now, no, I think they pretty much got options on the offensive line. So, Anthony Rudd, do you think DeMarcus Riddick will be like a rover playing linebacker? Sometimes. He's going to be all over the place, I would assume. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he should be.
Yeah. Rover. I noticed as I'm going back through all the rosters to try to find the best at each number, the Rover was on the like early 2000s roster. Like that was a position that they handed out to people. You're a rover. That's not really how they call it anymore. That's more of an old school term now. Randy Peterson, how does Elijah Melendez look? Dude is a human hit stick. Randy just wrote about him, man. Elijah Melendez is a guy that I hear probably one of the top 3 names I hear the most. Coaches are excited about him. He's still got to learn the mic position. There's a lot that goes into it, but I've heard he's hit the ground running with that. They expect him to know a lot during fall camp and be one of those guys that's pushing for a spot. Have you heard anything different on that, Justin?
He could be this year's DeMarcus Riddick. Like, just give him time. No, I think you're dead on. That's a guy that's a guy that DJ Durkin loves. loves and loved in the recruiting process. I mean, very high on him as a football player and as a hitter and tackler and all that. So, that was more than just like really talented linebacker. Let's get him in the boat. That was like, for somebody like Durkin, that was like priority. That was like, I want this guy really bad.
Yeah.
What about this question? Asking if Auburn, what does Auburn need to win 8 games to get recruiting back in the top 10 or get recruiting back on track? And I think it's an interesting. I mean, I think times have changed now where, I don't think you can correlate a win total with a recruiting finish because of NIL. And I just, with the NIL and transfer portal, it's just not the same where you look at it and go, okay, Auburn needs to get X amount of wins to keep the momentum going because they need momentum to convince players to come. You need to have a winning program. The most important thing is putting players in the NFL. Auburn has not done that lately. So that's hurting them badly when players are going, I want to be developed. And if you're Auburn, you're pointing to going, well, I mean, you've got a history, but like in recent years, you're not putting a lot of players in the NFL. So that they need to get back on track to doing that.
Yeah.
And then it's so much of it's NIL. I mean, it just, at the end of the day, kids, parents, agents, are you going to get me to the NFL? And if I think you are, also, are you in the ballpark of this other NIL offer? Am I going to be losing a lot of money if I go to you? Outside of that, the wins just aren't as important. Certainly negative recruiting could play a part in that. If Auburn wins 6 games, if Auburn tank, which I would consider 6-6 tanking, that'd be terrible. You'd have a lot of negative recruiting that you'd have to battle for sure. So in terms of a win total, you'd have to battle negative recruiting. So it matters there. But in terms of just trying to convince a kid to come, you got to get back to putting players in the league. You got to be competitive in the NIL. It's not about winning 8 and landing a top 10 class necessarily.
Which is yet just another, would be such an unfortunate reason if they cannot figure out how to get some W's this season. I would just be worn out by that. Just completely because they're about to have some draft picks, Justin. Mm-hmm. They're about to have it. They have, like we said the other day, 2-3 guys that at least one side is projecting Auburn could have 3 first-rounders. The last time Auburn had 3 first-rounders, they were all in the top 10, by the way, was Carlos Rogers, Ronnie Brown, and Cadillac. How good was Auburn then? Fantastic. So they're just on the verge of so many things. I want them to get over the hump. I have no problem saying that because it can be so nice. It could be nice again. It could be real nice. I'm so sick of sitting here and hedging my bets over everything. I'm so sick of Auburn losing, man. Tired of watching that.
You're where the whole fan base is, which is kind of why when we talk about expectations and what's fair or not fair, and we know what Hugh Freeze thinks. We know he wants 3 years. He wants 3 full recruiting classes. He wants 3 full years to try to build the foundation. And then it's almost like, all right, now start evaluating me. Give me 3 years, give me 3 classes, then start judging me. And whether it's fair or not, that's just not going to happen. And part of that is what you're voicing, which is the fatigue that's not Freeze's fault. 2020, the 6-4 COVID, fine. But like 21 and 22, the Harsin era is not Freeze's fault. The end of the Malzahn era was not Freeze's fault. Like 2019 was a pretty good year with Bo Nix as a freshman, but you also got shellacked in a bowl game. And then 2020 was all kinds of up and down. But you just got now a lot of years in a row of really mediocre football, really below average football, if you're being honest. I mean, what we talked about it the other day, no winning seasons in SEC play since COVID, if you counted it. So part of what Freeze is dealing with is not his fault. It's just fatigue of losing.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. You took the job. That's part of the deal. You took the job of a program that was losing. And whether you want 3 full years or not, I think Freeze has spent a lot of time trying to get fans on his side. I mean, he's talked a lot about the talent gap and a lot about give me 3 years and a lot about trying to get people sort of to back off a little bit. I mean, even recently he talked about sort of recalibrating your expectations now that the SEC is the way it is in the playoffs, and like, hey, 8-4 should get you on the bubble of the playoffs. Just a lot of recalibration, I think, of expectations. But at the end of the day, people are going to expect what they expect. Maybe it can be unfair at times, but most fans are where you are, in that they're tired of losing, and that part of that is playing into the expectations this year of 8-4 is where you need to be. Anything below 8-4 is the majority of Auburn fans are going to say 7-5 or worse is unacceptable. Some will go 7-5. Okay, I don't want to fire the guy over that. It's not great, but the majority are at 8-4 or better. At basically 8-4, because 9 would be great. Like, I think 9 would be. I think most fans would be ecstatic, but 7 or worse is just not. It's just not. It's not good enough with this talent, and it's not good enough with this schedule. Like, I wrote about it in that Jackson Arnold story. Like, you got to think about this now. The last 2 years, so Freeze is year 2 and 3, his second and third year of building this program. He doesn't have to play LSU. He doesn't have to play Ole Miss. He doesn't have to play Florida. He doesn't have to play Tennessee. He doesn't have to play Texas. He gets Oklahoma, who's going through a coaching change, rebuilding. Arkansas's down. Kentucky's, meh. Missouri was good a couple years ago, but they're still not, they're not more talented than you. Vanderbilt, okay, they got Pavia. They're better. But if you'd have told Hugh Freeze in year 2 and 3 of you trying to rebuild Auburn, you're not going to have to deal for 2 years. You're not going to have to deal with LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, Tennessee, or Texas. None of them. You start to look at it that way, and then you look at the way he's recruited, and to me, there's even less excuses to go 7-5. You can't ask for a better schedule. It can only get worse from here. Like Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas. Who do you want to trade those with? You want to trade one for Ole Miss? You want to trade one for LSU? You want to trade one for Texas? You want to trade one for Tennessee or Florida? Like this, to me, the schedule is only going to get worse. When you have those 4, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, they're preseason picked basically the bottom quarter. They're 10-15 in the league, and then you toss Mississippi State in there. That's 4 of the worst 6 teams in the preseason rankings, basically. And you get to play them for 2 years. You get to play all those half of your 16 SEC games the last 2 years, 8 of them are against Missouri, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kentucky. If you can't have a resurgence in those 2 seasons, you're recruiting well. If you can't have a good record, the schedule only could get worse, not better.
Yeah, when we get to talking about schedules and how favorable and unfavorable they are, I mean, you have to remember too. There are more favorable ones than others, but everybody in the SEC is dealing with the same thing. You take hit after hit after hit every week, whereas other conferences, which is why I have a hard time, making the comparison for Ashton Daniels and how he's going to be in the SEC coming from Stanford. They play good games, but it's just not back to back to back to back like SEC can be, even if you have a more favorable schedule. I don't know if you saw this, Justin, but I think it was like a TikTok or a video that went viral somewhat, at least in our circles, where he had this set of questions. Okay, has your school won? He's trying to figure out the most miserable fan base in college football based on these questions.
Yeah.
Like, has your school had a winning season in the last 5 years? Okay. If not, you're out. Auburn, of course, still alive.
Yeah.
They get down to the very end. Auburn is the most miserable fan base in college football based on all the different questions.
Yeah.
I didn't need that. I didn't need all those questions to figure that out.
Wouldn't disagree. Yeah, of course, we live it. But
I can't imagine.
You can't disagree. You can't disagree, given the historical place where Auburn stands in college football.
I know.
Given a Heisman Trophy winner in Cam Newton, a couple of national championship appearances, even as recent 2017, you're ranked 2nd in the country at one point. Given some fairly recent success, and then toss in the fact that your arch rival has dominated college football for a decade or more in Alabama, 15 years, dominated. That makes it even worse. Now here comes Georgia, your second biggest rival. That makes it even worse. So yeah, there is an easy argument to say the Auburn fan base is the most at just a miserable point. I think you're muted. No, I can't hear you.
Can't hear me at all.
There you go. Now you got you.
Could you just imagine being where the staff is right now, trying to get that done with all this against you? I mean, you have to overcome it. You got to be the one. You got to be the one that makes the change.
Shit, assistants are paid what $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. I mean, I'm not worried about them.
Good for them. Yeah, right. I'm sitting over here sometimes, Justin. We had a phone conversation about this the other day. Just pulling my hair out. Like, what am I going to write? What am I going to say right now? Sometimes when certain situations hit, and you're like, well, what are they doing? I mean, it's just the whole thing. It's just crazy. And I didn't need all those questions to know that this is the most miserable fan base. I log on to the corner every day.
And the corner's not even. I think it's somewhat fair and balanced. I think you have, but I mean, everybody's fatigued right now. Everybody.
You have unfortunately, the majority that don't think the way that most of the people that are typing out their little head bubbles are the majority that think more like, well, it's going to be okay. But they're not going to say anything. They just sit there and watch.
Well, it doesn't help when your head coach is out there going, bowl game? ? Got to get to 6 wins? ? Talent gap ? Like
there's a much better way he could word things to make everybody feel better.
Anything about Hugh Freeze exude confidence right now? I mean, do you watch his press conferences? Do you listen to him at media? We'll talk to him. I think next week they start the ambush tour. There'll be a couple of stops throughout the state, so we'll get a chance to talk to him a little bit. But I mean, everything sort of from him is kind of like temper expectations. We need time, and some of that's fair. But there's just nothing about it that's like
that hadn't been the narrative lately, though. In my opinion, it's turned into, well, I'm no dummy. I know where we're at. Well, I'm no fool. I know where we're at. It's just the wording he chooses after saying that is not great.
Yeah, I'd love to hear just like, listen, I love where we're at. We've recruited really well. I love our culture. I love our staff. We're absolutely going in the right direction, and we're going to make a breakthrough this year. Like, just say that, man.
I agree, because what do you have to lose? Like, you don't make it, you get fired, it's over.
Yeah, instead it's all like, well, wait, we'll see. I kind of like it, but yeah.
That's why I say I'm tired of hedging my bets.
There was a what was the question about the NIL? I don't about the flips. Does the rev share and policing of genuine NILs hurt the possibility of flips and recruiting?
No, I think it opens the door even more.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what the impact of this is going to be yet. Like the rev share, the $600 max deals through NIL Go. Can you do third parties and
coaching staffs don't know yet.
And there's a lot of talk on, well, can I do a third party deal? And can I is there a way I can skip the NIL Go, the clearinghouse, which is the $600 threshold? Can I skip that? There's just a lot unknown. I don't know, but I guess I kind of get your point. If there's more red tape, let's say, to get a deal done, could it be harder than to get a flip? I don't know. There's always under the table.
No,
that's never going anywhere.
Flips are going to happen because these kids are rushing to commit right now. They're for whatever reason, I don't know who started this trend, but it is mod. It's the thing to get that commitment in before football season. Like when I hit the field as a senior, I want a team by my name. Every time you see, every time you see Hezekiah Harris, Auburn commit. Like that is the thing, man. And it's not realistic to believe that all of those are going to stick.
Yeah, the early signing period certainly jumps. The second that the early signing period kicked in is when you started to see everything move up. Official visits moved up. Guys making commitments early, and all that stuff. What's Taylor say? With the talent that's come in, what are the chances Auburn making a run for the playoffs this year?
Making a run and being in the playoffs are two different things. Making a run, absolutely. have an opportunity. There ain't nothing but air and opportunity for you. You got the roster to do it. I think making a run is realistic. At least by midseason, you can make a run. Being in the playoffs is a totally different thing. Can you finish? Can you finish? Can you be in the playoffs? I don't think they're there yet. Can they make a run? Absolutely, they can.
It goes back to the schedule. Like making a run means you got to get to 9. You're not in the I don't care if the playoff expands to like 12 or 6, 8 and 4. I can't do 8 and 4, 4 and 4, and you getting at the I don't know. I don't know what the number of the playoffs would have to be. Right now it's you got to be 9 and 3.
What if you
got to be 5 and 3 or better? If you're 9 and 3, 5 and 3 or better in the league, I think you can make a case. Maybe it's a strong case, maybe it's a weak case, but I think you can make a case. So the question is, can Auburn make a run at 9 wins? And if you look at the schedule, not saying they are. You're just asking if there's a chance they could make a run at 9. Yeah, because I talk about the schedule again. Georgia, Bama at home, Texas A&M on the road, pretty tough. But when you've got Oklahoma that's still sort of messing around, Missouri, Vandy, Arkansas, Kentucky, that's 5. Like,
well,
yes, you could make a run at 9. You do not have that gauntlet of an SEC schedule. Outside of Georgia, Bama, nobody on that SEC schedule is certainly much better than you. Most of them, talent-wise, I think, are below you. And your 2 best teams are at home. So, yes, there's a chance you could make a run at 9.
Well,
probably small chance.
Think about it this way. If Auburn's 8 and 3 going into the Iron Bowl, you don't think that there's going to be playoff implications on that Iron Bowl?
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Assuming that's
so you made it at that point in your season with just 8 wins. You're saying 8. I mean, that's the win that gets you 9, obviously. So 9, yeah, that's the number that gets you squarely in the mix to be in the playoff.
Yeah, look, what if Baylor's pretty good? What if Baylor's a top 25 team, and what if you go beat them and then they start winning games and they're a 9-win team and you beat them on the road? Like that's another thing you could toss in there. You got to. There's at least a chance. Yeah,
that was my point in saying the schedule thing. Even if you have a more favorable SEC schedule, you still have an SEC schedule. That schedule can propel you to things that other conferences probably can't do.
Yeah, but I would also say I mean, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Kentucky are not going to be very good. None of those losing those will hurt you. Winning is like you have to just win them. There's not Georgia, Bama, maybe at A&M. We'll see what Oklahoma looks like. There aren't a lot of elite SEC games. You got to win one of those if you're trying to make a run to the playoffs. But Baylor could be one that if you were to get that one, that you could potentially point back. But I don't know. Right now, it's hard to say.
Let me get to some of these questions on the corner before they burn me at the stake. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Oh, sorry, wrong thread. It's a good thread. Check it out. Jalen Green Burner. Who is Jalen Green? Why do I remember that name?
Well, he was a basketball recruit that Auburn should have nearly got, and he went G League, and then he went pro, and he's awesome.
Okay. Jalen Green's Burner. Are we expecting Hudson Cock to be the starting holder this year?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Moving on. Let's see. This is kind of an interesting question, Justin. You might have to think about it for a second.
Okay.
WDE Burner asks, what is the most annoying recurring topic you see posted about on the corner?
The most annoying recurring topic. Probably about how like On3 inflates rankings for Alabama kids. Because that's like decades old. I mean,
Are you saying you believe it or not? Do you believe it? Do you believe that to be? Are you saying that it's annoying because you don't believe that to be true? Or
I've seen nothing to everybody links that to Shannon Terry. I know the people that rank the guys. I just Shannon Terry doesn't give a. He didn't care what these kids are ranked. Shannon Terry does not do anything involved with ranking. His day to day, he doesn't give a shit about a ranking. He's not watching film. I promise you, he is just doing other things. And so I know it looks that way at times, but I don't know that. But I'm not saying it is or is that. But the question is a reoccurring sort of thing.
You're tired of it.
It's been around since 2005. It's been around for 20 years. Like, and it all goes back to Shannon. When Shannon was, posting and like helping run BOL in the early days, he was really, right. I get that. I get that a little bit.
Okay. I don't know if we want to do this today, but it is a question, so I'll pose it. War Eagle Insider says, "Give us any nuggets that you've withheld. What's something we fans don't know right now that you know and you ain't told us?"
I mean,
I don't know how to answer
that could
that.
go a lot of different directions.
I don't think I hold anything back. I really don't.
Anything? Oh, there's for sure things that you know that you would never say.
I may hold back my opinion on some things. I don't think I'm holding back any intel.
No, I don't. Yeah, there's nothing that you need to know that we would be okay saying that we wouldn't say. Like if we hold it back, there's a very clear reason that it's not said. There's plenty of that.
Let's think about that. Let us think about that one, War Eagle Insider.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good topic. It's by a poster that is not particularly popular with the majority, but hey, I'm not either sometimes. Haskin experiment. You've probably seen this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times 2 years ago, Hugh Freeze blamed the lack of a decent game plan on recruiting and not having enough time in the day for both. Are we now strictly focused on winning this coming season and making big pushes in recruiting getting back the back burner? And making big pushes in recruiting getting the back burner. Does that make sense what I'm reading?
Yeah. Well, we're in the off season right now, so I mean, you can't really. There's no game planning happening right now, so yes, he's made comments. I think I asked him the question last year, and I was like, "Hey, do you find it hard during the day to balance game planning? You're now more involved in offense and more involved as a play caller. You need to be in every meeting, and you need to be involved in that. But then you're also such an integral part of recruiting. Do you think?" And he said, "Yes, I do find it difficult to do both." And I remember I wrote the story, and everybody lost their mind, and everybody thought I was trying to start something. I'm like, that is a completely valid and reasonable question. Somebody who's taking
Yeah, that's a
more
great
ownership.
question.
And I asked it because I know that he was not in every offensive meeting during the weeks. He would not be in some offensive meetings. So to me, I'm like, the guy calling plays can't skip offensive meetings. There could be something said in that meeting or something not relayed to him after the meeting that he could miss. You're just running a risk to me of something falling through the cracks. And so I asked him, and he admitted that, yeah, it was a struggle. I don't know. You would think with Will Redmond, and you would think that's a little bit more of a well-oiled machine, where I think he's talked about taking a step back a little bit in terms of, like, certainly with transfers, like come get me when I'm needed sort of thing. And so it really doesn't matter, though. Your job as the head coach is to oversee recruit. I mean, if you're going to be involved in recruiting, be involved. And if you're going to get back involved in offense, be involved. I don't really want to hear that there's not enough time in the day. I don't want to hear it.
The old saying, nobody wants to know how the sausage is made. Just get it to me, right? Or whatever. You don't want to know all the how it. You don't want to know what's going on behind the scenes. It doesn't matter. Just get it done. Just get it done. But when you're,
have you sensed anything? I don't know,
because we're gonna. I mean, Hugh Freeze gets question after question after question every chance that there's. He's gonna answer them honestly. So every time you ask him something, he's gonna answer it.
He'll answer it. I wouldn't say. I don't know that I would say honestly.
Well,
I think he tries to be transparent, but I don't always think he's painting a clear picture.
Another Battlehawk. No, excuse me. BPAU3 asks really the same thing. We've heard the narrative the past 2 seasons that the on-field product suffered because Hugh Freeze was spending a ton of time recruiting. Is it possible that the inverse of that is true this year? What do you think?
We definitely have heard that narrative. And I don't know, like, is that just something fans sort of, is that an excuse that fans that were supporters of Freeze said, like, listen, we're trying to recruit right now. Yeah, we're losing some games, but we're trying to build talent. And I remember the fans on the other side were like, but do both. When did it become a thing where if you recruit really well, you can't always prepare and win games? Like, it felt like an excuse to make, like, listen, calm down about the wins. We're recruiting really well. Let's do that. Then we'll get back to the wins. And I remember saying to people that had that narrative of, like, what year did it when did that become a thing where you could only do one really well? Like, why are we not doing both? Why is there an
No,
excuse being made there?
it's true for everybody. That is true for every coach in college football. That's not like false. It's true that it is hard for you to do both. The ones that are doing both are the ones doing really well. They're doing both at a high level.
But what are we
They're
talking about it being hard
but
to do both? Like, what I don't who cares? Like,
I
that's
know
the
I
job. I
know
don't
that.
understand.
The reason why people are up in arms about it is because Hugh Freeze is the only one that's ever said it. The rest of them know that they don't need to be saying that. They just need to do it. It's hard, but who cares? That's my
It's
job.
like
Got to do
it's
it.
like walking into the gym and you're like, man, I'm a little bit sore, a little bit tired today. And the other people at the gym are like, okay, me too. Like,
Right, right.
what do you want? Like, what do you know what I mean? It's like those people that walk in the gym every day and they're like, oh, God, I'm kind of hurting today. So just, and you're like, cool, great. What do you want me to do with that? I mean,
Yeah,
you're here? Are you going to do the workout or like,
right.
what do you want
That's
me to
the thing.
do for you there?
It's only because he said it that it became a thing. If he hadn't said anything, we'd all know what the case is, that it is hard to do both like that. But but he pointed it out. So it's that on top of losing is just making it all worse. And at this point, the only thing that can help you is if you win, you get some wins on your belt that changes people's mind. And it can, by the way, very quickly it can. Everybody will forget about everything if they can just win a few games.
No
But
question. Winning cures everything. There's no doubt about it.
moving on, Frank Goldberg wants to know, is Natalie Portman hot? We can go on from that probably.
I'm good.
Just keep moving. Let's see. We've kind of answered the breakout players on offense and defense thing. All right. Phone asks, if last year's offensive line was a 5 out of 10, like a 5 on a scale of 10, what do you think this year's is?
By the way, I guess that's fair. Last year, I mean, 5 obviously is not good, but it's not a complete. Is 5 average? Are we saying 5's average?
Yeah.
Are we just like, is that what we're saying?
It's average. It's not above average. It's not below average. It's average.
That's fine. I mean, they're probably, yeah. I mean, I would hope. Well, if there's people that think this is a top 3 or 4 or even 5 unit, I think Athlon had them 6, even 6. If you're a top 6 offensive line in the league, then you're pretty good. So if you're saying last year's a 5, if you're calling last year a 5, then this group's at minimum a 7. That's all I was curious. Is 5 a fair one last year? If you think that's fine and that's 5, then I would say 7. 8. You start getting 8, 9, 10, and I feel like you're starting getting to like more of elite level. I don't think we could say that. So let's go 7.
7's a fair spot to put it. 2 notches up from what it was a year ago. Definitely above average, we think. Hard to go any further than that, right?
Listen, if Mason Murphy, a lot of pressure there. If you feel like you're good at tackles, man, that'll go a long way. I mean, if you feel good with Chaplin and Murphy, and you feel good in the middle with Lou, communicating things. I mean, think about that.
Right? Yeah.
You got Connor Lou, who you think you have a lot of confidence in communication standpoint, and a good player. He's in the middle. If you got your 2 tackles that you feel good about, Chaplin and Murphy, if those guys play well, and we know Wright and Wade, I think are good players, but I think the tackles in that center, those guys, and then you've got a lot of good communication there.
Yeah.
You keep Jackson Arnold upright a little bit. Don't let him get sacked 34 times. He had 9 fumbles last year too, by the way. Probably not talked about enough. Maybe some of that was just being sacked too much, but maybe
that's a problem.
Football a little bit. Yeah.
No, they lost the Missouri game because of a fumble he had in the fourth quarter.
It's brutal.
Bad. AU student. Do you see a scenario where Deuce Knight takes over as the starter in, let's say, November? Could be either a positive or negative thing.
That would be a negative thing. There's no way that would be a positive. What would be the positive if Deuce Knight takes over in November?
Now he's likening that to what Florida did last year, where obviously Graham Mertz was the guy everybody was talking about at this point of the year. He was the guy. He goes down. Lagway comes in, and dang if he ain't better as a freshman.
Okay. Yes, but was that good? The fact that Florida had to go to Lagway, I would say, was not good. I mean, Florida. I mean, that's my thing. If you have to go to Deuce, I don't think you're like the season's going well, and then you get to go to Deuce. So I'm not saying Deuce couldn't play well, but if you have to make a move to Deuce Knight, then it's not going well. It could go
Not
well after
ideal.
that. He could come in and like be a stud. I mean, he could
Right.
come in and win a few games, but if he comes in, then things have not gone well.
It could be good, but it's not the ideal scenario at all. Not even a little bit.
If you do that, you're not winning 9. You're not winning. I mean, it depends on when he came in, but no, that wouldn't be. That wouldn't
All right,
be.
this is a great
Now,
question.
by the way, before we move on to that, one other thought on the Deuce Knight thing. That would be a very, and if it happens, we can talk about it then. That would be a very interesting dynamic to the season. Think about Bill. I mean, look at last year with Billy Napier in Florida. Look at that. The dude was on the verge of being fired.
Yeah.
And he inserts Lagway, and it turns around, and you beat LSU, you beat Ole Miss. It saved his job. It saved his job, and they recruited well. But inserting Lagway and Lagway playing well and then winning 2 big home games against LSU and Ole Miss, it saved his job. It would be an interesting dynamic if things are going poorly. It would almost be a mirrored. If things are going poorly to where you're considering entering Deuce Knight, then you're probably also having the conversation about, is Hugh Freeze the guy? Like, how hot is his seat right now? Where is his job status? And then it would depend on what does Deuce Knight do to get once he got into the role. But it would look very much like Florida. If the Deuce Knight thing is a conversation on do we start him, you're also talking about Freeze the way you were talking about Napier probably, and going, is he done? Should we just fire him? Like, those are probably, it would look very similar to me. And then would Deuce play like Lagway played? We don't know. But like Deuce could save Freeze's job.
Well,
the way they could go 7-5. That's a way where they could go 7-5. And you go, but Deuce started the last 4 and was 3-1. And that's about the only way I could see a 7-5 season being spun positively, is if Deuce started the last 4 and went 3-1, and you go,
yes,
okay, 7-5, definitely not what we wanted this year, but
that would be big.
Deuce going 3-1 would spin that type of 7-5 season in a different direction.
I mean, you don't want that, but it would be. I mean, you would get people fired up for the next season, 100%.
Yeah,
in that case.
Yeah.
But that was exactly what I was asking when I asked you how expendable Jackson Arnold was. Whether Florida believed Graham Mertz was expendable a year ago, I don't think they used him that way. He was expendable because they put DJ Lagway in, and he was maybe better.
Yeah.
So that's what I was asking: is there a possibility that it could turn out that way? So that was a good question. Let me hit this one on the board. We'll get to this one too on Seth. That's on the screen. But some bad hat 51 asks, give me 3 guys who are listed as backups who might get some significant playing time, but possibly earn a starting role, or maybe fringe, like guys that are considered backups right now, but might end up winning out or have a chance. I'm looking at freshmen here. I think Elijah Melendez is an easy answer. We talked about him already. I think you're looking at D-line where, like Jordan Crawford, I think you can start seeing him making a push up the depth chart as the season goes on. Like you said, who's the DeMarcus Riddick of this year, where it starts out, it looks like he ain't playing, but then all of a sudden, Oklahoma game, he freaking takes over that game almost. Is there anybody? I mean, Melendez fits that category
of somebody who's not a starter or could bust through or break out. I mean, Jeremiah Cobb could. I know he's sort of probably thought of as sort of a he might be thought of as a co-starter, but I think most people think of Damari as sort of the quote unquote starter. But Jeremiah Cobb's got enough ability to take off. You don't know what exactly he could be. I mean, I don't know about. I mean, secondary is tough. There's some pretty experienced kind of set guys. I feel like there. Elijah Melendez would be a good one. Yeah. It's hard at receiver. You kind of know what you got with Cam and Eric, Malcolm. I think it's going to be hard. That's why I keep talking about Perry. I see people talking about Perry having a breakout year. I'm just not sure how. Who's he going to break out over? Cam? No. Singleton? No. Malcolm? No. Probably Horatio? Probably not either. I don't even know where there's room for him to break out unless Horatio Fields is not good, which would go against what we've heard about him. So I'm not sure where the room there is for Perry to break out. But,
yeah. Those are a few names that come to mind. Maybe Malik Autry is another guy. Jared Smith, Chris Murray, a couple of guys. Caleb Wheatland, he might be pretty good. Maybe we're not putting enough into him.
Yeah, he could be one to watch.
Seth Cost, real quick. Who would you rather have right now, Marcel Reed or Deuce Knight? I think I'd rather have Reed. I know what he is. Seen him play.
Well, on the Auburn team now, like, are you just trading Deuce Knight for Marcel Reed?
I mean,
depends on what you think of Jackson Arnold.
I guess if you're trading him, you might consider keeping Knight because of his upside and how good he could be.
Yeah. If you think you've got something with Jackson Arnold, then you keep Deuce Knight, and you got
Reed.
Reed
was a freshman. Reed was a freshman.
Yeah,
he's got a long way to go, and he was good.
Like Deuce's upside. I like Deuce's upside. I'm not a quarterback. I like Deuce's upside over Marcel Reed. I think Deuce's upside as a passer, I think is I think there's more there. But Marcel Reed's a phenomenal athlete and all that stuff. But I like Deuce's ability to make a wider variety of passes and really be a slinger of the football than maybe Marcel Reed. But we'll see. Reed could bust out this year and build on what he did last year and be a stud. Him and Taylon Green at Arkansas are really interesting ones. Super athletic. Like, what kind of strides could they make? Yeah.
He ain't bad at all.
No.
Some Bad Hat 51 is back, Justin. He wants to know what your favorite cocktail is at Session Cocktail. And for me, he wants to know what my go-to item at Red's Little Schoolhouse is.
Oh boy.
Have you ever been to Red's Little Schoolhouse?
No.
You should do it. It's an experience.
Yeah. I don't know, cocktail. I mean, they make a really good old fashioned.
What's the one I had that night? I really liked that. You remember?
I don't know. They have one called Gold Rush. Gold Rush is very good. A little sweet. I like that. And they have one called Monkey Business. That's pretty good.
They had something else there. I think it was called Miller High Life, I think.
Yeah.
That was good. I like that one.
Cocktail. Yeah, unique. It's yeah.
No, I mean, it came in this bottle that was it was great. That was
yeah.
My go-to at Red's Little Schoolhouse is the fried chicken gizzards. That's right. Would you eat a gizzard, Justin? Are you a gizzard guy? Livers, that kind of thing?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
They're so good. I love those, and I love the squash casserole when they have that. That is freaking phenomenal. So go check out Red's Little Schoolhouse. It's awesome. And Session Cocktail. We have a couple more. You want me to hit you with a couple more real quick?
Yeah.
All right. Ty Flo Lax. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He said, if you were told in advance that either Keldrick Falk is the number 1 overall pick or that Jackson Arnold was a 4th-round draft pick, which one would mean Auburn had the better season?
Arnold.
Being a 4th-round draft pick.
That means you had a great year.
Great year.
If you're 4th round or better in the draft, you're a damn good quarterback. Yeah.
What if Keldrick is number 1 overall? Number 1.
That wouldn't. He could go number 1, and Auburn could go 7-5.
But that's assuming that Jackson Arnold is still. I mean, we still think he's going to be an upgrade.
If Jackson Arnold is a 4th round, if after the year you're going, that dude's a 3rd, 4th round draft pick, then he had a really good year.
Yeah, I
really good year.
I agree with that.
By the way, I linked on the board the other day. What is CBS Sports doing? Naming the top 50 prospects to watch for next year's draft and not including Keldrick Falk. I was like, I literally looked at that 3 times.
That's the same outlet that had him in the 1st round.
I'm like looking. I'm like, Keldrick Falk's a junior. What am I missing here? Like, he's literally been projected as a 1st rounder by a lot of people, and you don't include him in your top 50 players to watch. It blew my mind. I was like, what are y'all doing? It had to be just an omission. It had to have been an accident. Had to have been accident.
Zach said on this, you have to remember the quarterback that just won the Natty, which was Will Howard at Ohio State, was drafted in the 6th round. So Jackson Arnold goes the 4th round. That's insane. That's a good point. I agree with y'all. I agree with y'all. But the way I was looking at it is, if Jackson Arnold's solid, and then you have the number 1 overall pick, meaning Keldrick Falk went crazy. I mean, when Auburn has a crazy good defensive player like that, they've always been good. Derek Brown, Nick Fairley, right?
Yeah, you just can't impact the game the way that Arnold can.
I agree. I think that's the better pick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get 2 birds in 1 stone here. Let's see. I think everything else was pretty much okay. We'll end it on this one. Who is the most underrated former Auburn running back, in your opinion? I guess of all time. We didn't say of all time, but who is the most underrated former Auburn running back?
Oh my gosh.
First one that comes to mind is Cameron Artis Payne. I'm thinking strictly in my lifetime. So either him or Brad Lester. Those would be my 2 picks.
Cameron Artis Payne's probably a good one because he came after Trey Mason. And so Trey Mason gets a lot of the love. And yet Artis Payne had, I don't know what he did in 13 as the backup, but he had 1,400 something, probably 1,400 in 2015 or 14. I mean, Cameron Artis Payne had a huge year in 2014. So he probably gets lost in the shuffle there because Trey Mason gets a lot of that love. That's probably a good pick. Lester.
Oh, Ben Tate. That's a good pick. Zach.
I remember, man, when they got him, that was kind of in the middle of Auburn sort of messing around recruiting. It was like the end of the Tuberville era. And they got him out of Maryland. It was such a big pickup. He played in the NFL. I mean, he probably, it's a shame because he came to Auburn and they started running the spread. And if he would have, I would have loved to have seen him stay. I think he had more years. Like he could have come back in 2010, by the way. He could have come. I think so. He was not a senior. I think he could have come back and been the starting running back, and Michael Dyer would have been your backup.
Ooh,
in 2010.
I just thought of a good one.
But Ben Tate would have had, if Ben Tate plays in the early 2000s with Tuberville as a running back, or even with Gus, I think if it's a little bit different, Ben Tate's numbers would have been that much better at Auburn.
How about Cam Petway?
I mean, I don't know. He had a good few games.
He was good, man. He was good. He's just a freaking bull. I loved it.
He was a bull, and then teams realized all we got to do is just dive at his feet, and he can't even move out of the way. He can't juke.
You have to also remember that offensive line was good. They were opening it up for him, and then
they started rolling.
He was meeting safeties 1-on-1, and it was over.
They started rolling. Carry-on got banged up, and then Cam Petway, just the middle of that 2016 season, Cam Petway was on a roll. Oh. They were rolling folks in the middle of the season right there. Ole Miss and Arkansas, and they were rolling there for a minute.
I think I just thought of the one. Trey Smith.
Oh, God. He didn't get enough carries.
He was good, man.
He had some ability, but yeah, it's hard to go back because I mean, you kind of can only go back so far of what you watched. I'll give you an underrated. It kind of depends on how you're looking at it too. Are we talking about? Are we talking about? No, he was SEC Player of the Year. Are we talking about a guy who actually put up production but kind of gets lost in the shuffle? Or are we talking about a guy
who was good?
Who was really. I'll tell you a really talented back they had that had a really good 2001 season, but then Carnell came along, and I don't know what happened to him after. I don't know if he left the team or if he got moved to the backup, but Ksenius Moore, for anybody that remembers, in 2001 was a really talented back. He had some really nice games in 2001, and then it turned into the Carnell show at the end of the year, and then it was Carnell took over. But Ksenius Moore was really talented. If you went and looked at some of the games he had in 2001, he had some real ability. But I probably wouldn't fall into that category because he just didn't do enough. He didn't do quite enough.
How about Peyton Barber?
No, I didn't. I never thought Peyton Barber was good. I never thought he was very good.
I mean, talent-wise, he doesn't stack up, but he did good things.
Underrated. Yeah. Like Cameron Payne is a good fit for that because he had a huge year in 2014, was really good in 13. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle between Trey Mason, between Nick Marshall, Sammy Coates, like some of the guys they had on those teams. He kind of gets, and then he left. He's another guy that could have stayed, I think, for one more year and left early. Could have had 2 back-to-back 1,000+ yard seasons type deal.
Booby Whitlow.
Oh gosh, no. That's another one I was like,
just
dude,
thinking.
not the answer. No, I remember those discussions happening about people like he's pretty good. I'm like, listen, if he's your starting running back, it's not it's not gonna, like, you're not. It's not
Here's
gonna happen.
here's a question for you. That running back room, I think it was 2018, maybe, was Booby Whitlow and Cam Martin. Is that
not very good?
I mean, compare that to the running back room now: Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb, Darrell Robinson.
It's not.
I think they're in better shape right now than that.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, Omar Mabson, Alvin Henderson, they're also in the room.
Dude, I love Justin Clayton with the throwback Mike Blakely. That's throwing it back to when they were recruiting running backs at a high level. Blakely, he didn't even show up though. I think I don't even think he made it on, or did he come one year? I don't even remember, but he was super talented. Manatee, Florida, if I remember right. Yeah. Underrated. I mean, Ontario McCaleb probably falls into that category because a lot of attention on Mike Dyer, Cam Newton. Certainly, then you get into Trey Mason, a lot of attention with Trey Mason, and McCaleb was always kind of the backup, sort of gimmicky running back, but dude had a lot of yards, a lot of all-purpose yards when he was at Auburn, a lot of kickoff return yards. Like he was extremely valuable in what they did in 2010. I shouldn't say Trey Mason in 2010. Sorry, wasn't there in 2013, 2010, 2009 with Ben Tate. McCaleb was probably a little bit underrated in what his role was. But Cap's a good one. Cap's a good pick. Cameron Payne. But recently, man, ever since Kerryon Johnson, it's been slim pickings. I mean, Booby Whitlow's not the answer. Tank was fantastic. It'll be interesting to see the running back position this year. I think we're all sort of, what does it look like with Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb, Darrell Robinson? Does anybody break through and get 80% of the carries? It's going to be interesting to watch that crew and who pass protects, who doesn't fumble, who does what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Any more? Are we out of here?
That's it. That was the last question.
All right. Well, let's roll.
Sounds good. Good show as usual. A lot of good discussion. Make sure you sign up for the $1 deal at Auburn Live. It's an annual thing. It's not a weekly. You get 1 week free, or 1 week for $1. It's like a trial, and it rolls into an annual. Give it a trial. Go read the insiders right now. Give us a look, man. There's a lot of good stuff from Justin on basketball too. I know we got a lot of people into that. I learn a lot from that. So go give that a look. And of course, the corner. You can't miss out on that. So appreciate y'all being with us today. We'll catch you next time. See ya.